It's been 13 days since I sold all my furniture, and you know what? You don't miss it. I've also come very close to going full-on freaking vegan. Now, for those of you who might not know what a freaking vegan is, a freagan is someone who gets all of their food from a dumpster, and then obviously a vegan, someone who doesn't have meat. So I'm trying to get all of my vegetables strictly from the dumpster, and I've saved a ton of money from doing this. Okay, so maybe I didn't go that far, but it would have saved a lot of money. So even though I'm very frugal, I don't eat nothing but beans and rice. I think that you can eat really healthy and have that be cheap. You don't have to go with the dollar menu or with having the cheapest flour. I choose to go with things that are a little more expensive but can be really good for you. I try to have lots of fruits and vegetables. I choose to do things that might be a little bit healthier for you. So while I still will use these, I'm not gonna go ahead and do nothing but this and potatoes and stuff that's not gonna really have a ton of nutrients. I wanna make sure that I'm spending money on things that are gonna make me healthy long term, so that 5, 10, 20 years from now, I'm not having long term, health problems because I chose to eat ramen noodles all the time and stuff from the dollar menu. Instead, you can eat really healthy stuff that is also cheap, but it's not gonna have those long term detrimental effects. And also feel a lot better when I'm eating healthier. So for that extra $1 or $2 a day to feel better all the time is definitely worth it. So don't skip out on getting really cheap, unhealthy ramen crap food. You want to have really good food that is healthy. That's a good thing to spend that extra $1 or $2 a day on, even though you can still spend 50% less than everybody else just by eating healthy and planning your meals out and cooking in batches and stuff like that. So still be frugal about it, but don't go over the top and end up making yourself unhealthy and causing problems down the road.
Oh, and if you guys are enjoying my content, please consider liking and subscribing.
So if you've seen my home improvement videos, you'll know that I have done quite a lot of this on a budget and myself, and I have made some mistakes along the way where I tried to cheap out too much, but then some other things I've spent more money on and it ended up being totally worth it. So here's a few examples just off the top of my head. One of them was I decided to tile this bathroom instead of just getting something that the ugly white stuff that you can just put up. Really happy with this because every single day it makes me happy. It looks a lot better. It makes the whole bathroom look a lot better. And it was around the same price. It might have been a little cheaper, but it did take a lot more time. So anyways, I could have cheaped out and just gone with the plastic stuff and put that in and had it look not great. But I have this and I'm happy with it. It looks good every day. Something I did cheap out on when I was first getting the house. This. Can you see that? It's brand new. It's about a year old and it is rusty like you would not believe. Now I cheaped out and I got the the $3 one at Ocean State Job Lots along with these things were wicked cheap and they don't really work. So I went overly cheap with those things and now I'm gonna have to buy them again instead of just having something that was good and won't rust out and be a piece of junk. So don't wanna, especially on home repairs, you don't wanna over cheap on a lot of things. Also, with this paint, I went ahead and I got the cheapest paint and now parts of it are peeling. I'll zoom in on that or something. Parts of it are peeling and not working out great, so I'm gonna have to paint it again. So some things are worth spending a little extra more money on, especially if you're doing home repairs. You can do things cheaply as long as you're getting cheap quality stuff or value quality stuff instead of cheap bottom of the line stuff that you're just gonna have to fix again in a few years. Especially if you're getting a roof or something like that. You don't wanna get a cheap roof because you're just gonna have to do it again, and you don't wanna cheap out on certain things that are just gonna end up, being a recurring problem and just shoving that problem down the road a little bit. So another thing I like to do is calculate what my time is worth and make sure I'm spending it efficiently. So for instance, if I go ahead and I can get my housing expenses or my insurance expenses lower and I spend hours trying to figure out how to do that, but then they're lower forever or indefinitely because they're reoccurring expenses, that is definitely worth my time. But if I try to save $10 on a pair of shoes or I shop around for a deal and that takes hours and hours for a one-time project that is going to save me a minimal amount of money, then that's probably not worth it. Now if it's a big an appliance and that's going to save you hundreds or thousands of dollars, that might be worth it. But try to figure out what your time is worth. All right, so for instance, if you make around $50,000 a year, then your time is worth around $25 an hour. So if you can go ahead and spend an hour making $25 as opposed to spending an hour saving $10, then the saving the $10 for an hour is just really not worth it. So I try to look at it that way. So for instance, I made a little bit of a mistake here when I was painting this entire place. I was painting the ceiling, all of the walls, all throughout the entire house, because there was a hoarder living here and he was smoking and they were all yellow and gross, and it was horrible. And it took an insane amount of time. Now, if I could have hired somebody for $10 an hour to come in and paint instead of me doing it myself, that would have been much more efficient use of my time. And if I could spend that time working at a side hustle, making, $20, $30 an hour, or working more of my day job, whatever it happens to be, you can use your time much more efficiently if you have a huge project like that, and you can pay somebody less. So kind of figuring out what your time is worth and looking at things in that type of point of view. Now, if I'm just painting one wall or something, I would definitely do that myself. But if you have like an entire project that's gonna take weeks, it might be better to pay somebody as long as they're making less than you. But now some things are worth it. Like if it's $100 an hour for someone to come and repair something, and you can do that yourself for an hour or 2 hours, and you would be able to save that $100, and it costs you maybe $50 worth of time or $20 worth of time, then that's definitely worth it. So just find out how much your time is worth and calculate that, and make sure that you're not wasting time on things that are saving you dollars. You're not wasting hours to save dollars, really.
Now, especially here in New England, it is very important that you do spend the money to get that undercarriage washed, to make sure that you're, washing your car in the winter so that you don't rust out in a few years. So things like that, where you're maintaining your appliances, maintaining your car and your expensive things, your house, your apartment, whatever it is, and making sure that you're not saving a little bit of money now to have major problems down the road. So especially things like oil changes, things like even maintaining your own body, investing in a gym membership, or at least working out somewhere, investing in doing your teeth well and going to the dentist, and all those preventative things to make sure that you don't have problems down the road. Also, of course, eating well helps a lot. I think it's also very important that you don't get something just because it is on sale if you wouldn't get that anyways. This can be hard to do, especially for those of us who are thrifty, because if you see something that is 50% off or 80% off, you want to get that, but you got to realize it is still 50% more than if you didn't buy it at all. So unless it's a necessity, I think it's very important. This is where minimalism comes in, to not get it at all.
It's important to remember that if you're getting something that you don't need and you're getting more than you need of it just because it's on sale, then you're eliminating the whole purpose of the sale. You're eliminating saving money because you're buying more than you normally would, and you end up wasting something, as opposed to just getting less stuff that is actually better. The same thing goes with food, where if you're buying, extra produce because it's on sale and you end up throwing it away, then you pretty much eliminated that whole sale.
All right, it is really awkward to try to do this inside of a mall. Ugh. So we're back at my house. But this is definitely something that I, had problems with, where if you get something that's really on sale, it's just a few dollars, or, it's 80% off, you kind of can't resist that great deal, which I think a lot of us kind of do, and it's definitely a sales tactic that they employ to try to get us to buy stuff. But you can go broke saving money, so just make sure that even though something might be a large percentage off, doesn't mean it is a good deal if it's not something you needed anyways. And it might be better to spend $50 on a pair of really nice jeans that you're going to wear every single day than to get a bunch of jeans that you don't really like that much and you don't end up wearing, or when you do wear them, you don't absolutely love them. Same thing goes with food, where if you're getting a ton of food just because it's on sale, then you end up throwing half of it out, then what's the whole point, So I think spending money on entertainment is probably one of your better investments, even though this is something that a lot of us tend to be the first thing to cut out because it's the most controllable, but really that's also going to bring the most joy in your life.
So this is something that I think a lot of us have struggled with, and I know I have, trying to find that balance of not wasting money but still enjoying life.
So I think it's still important that we make sure that we're still spending money on things that really bring us joy and really bring us value, and not cutting out entertainment, as that's usually like a few percent of people's budgets. So if you're cutting that out, maybe you're getting 2% or 5% more efficient. But if you still have your housing expenses and your other expenses that are still like draining most of it, then you're just cutting out most of the fun in your life to save 2 or 3% while you're not even focusing on the big things. Now, if you're still at that point where you're saving up for your house hack or something like that, then it might be necessary to cut out that but it doesn't, but I don't think it's really the best idea to cut it out completely and have that be one of the first places you look, even though for a lot of us that is one of the first places that we look. Now, that doesn't mean we just waste money on, you know, entertainment because, hey, it's entertainment, I want to treat myself. You can still find ways to optimize it, like travel hacking, where you're able to travel for free through credit card hacking, and finding other free things to do, or, you know, more efficient ways to do things, not wasting money. But that definitely shouldn't be the first place that we look, and we shouldn't go over the top cutting that out, even though it's something that I've done occasionally. I don't think it's really been the best for me when I did go ahead and do that. Anyways, if you guys enjoyed this, please consider subscribing if you want to see more financial independence, early retirement, minimalism content stuff. And if you want to gently caress the like button, that would also make a huge difference. It helps a lot. And I'll see you next week or down in the comments, whichever comes first.